Hey, I'm Godengel R, and this is a Sega Master System. You know, the console that Sega made to compete with the NES. It was quite popular, especially in Europe and Brazil, but nowadays it feels like got forgotten, at least outside Sega fan groups or Brazilian gamers. I'm Brazilian, if you already didn't notice it by my accent, and I grew up with a Master System, more specifically, the Master System 3 Collection, a model made in 2002. Yes, 8-bit console made in 2000s. I had sold my console to my uncle when I was a kid because I wanted to buy a cell phone. Yeah, it wasn't a good decision, but recently I asked him back and he gave it to me, so I decided to do something with it. I'm going to review the Sega Master System 3 collection and all 74 games that came built in. It's a mod exclusive from Brazil and it's not emulation, it's a real thing. I wanted to do this because it's part of game history that not as many people know. But first, I think I need to explain how and why the Master System were still being made in Brazil by the 2000s. Sega had a publisher in Brazil called Tectoy. They were responsible for the popularity of the Sega's consoles in the country. Nintendo did not have a publisher here. Tectoy's main adversaries were the Famiclones. The NES only officially came out in Brazil in 1993, and by that time it was too little too late. Tectoy did way more than just put games in the store. As you might expect, they started translating manuals and making TV commercials, but by the mid-90s they were making new games and also their own revision of the Sega's consoles. They even made a TV show about Sega games. The show was called Play Games, where kids competed by playing games and doing some challenges to get Sega prizes. It's from that show that this thing came out. When Phantasy Star was out, Tectoy knew it was a good game, but they also knew it would be impossible to sell a RPG in English for Brazilian kids, so they got permission from Sega to translate the game into Portuguese, and so it started Tectoy's short life as a game developer. Fun fact, Sega gave them permission to translate, but they didn't give the source code. The official translator was made just like a home hack. Besides the Phantasy Star stuff, Tectoy also modified the games to have Brazilian characters, translated other games not only for the Master System but also for the Mega Drive and Saturn, ported Street Fighter 2 for the Master System, Duke Nukem 3D for the Mega Drive, and like I said, in the mid-90s they were making their own games. Sonic 1 was the last Master System game in North America, and Europe had games until 1995, but thanks to Tectoy the last official game for the Sega's 8-bit machine was 1998. When the Dreamcast died, Tectoy needed a new plan, since they were just Sega's publisher, and so my first console, the Sega Master System 3 collection, was born. I actually have 3 different models of Master System, all made by Tectoy, so I'm going to show them. You probably already know the Sega Master System, especially the first model, the classic in black and red one. Tectoy also had made a second version of that model with Alex Kidd built in, and they called it the Master System 2. So when Sega made a second revision of the console, Tectoy had called it the Master System 3. But it's the same thing as the Master System 2 outside Brazil. You can see Sonic here and the Sega logo, which is Japanese Sonic because Tectoy made business with Sega of Japan, not Sega of America. You can also see the cartridge slot is full of dust because this console is broken, I don't use this anymore. The power button, not power, sorry, the pause button, because my system does not have pause on the controller, it's on the console itself, there's no start or select. On the power switch, the controller is thing over here. It's interesting to see that it's the same one as the Mega Drive and or Genesis, whatever. I use Mega Drive controller, it's just better. You can see here in the back, the video output is RF, you can switch channels, and this is broken. Once again, this does not work anymore. We see also the Sega logo, please camera focus, camera on, yes, thank you. Have the Sega logo, the console specs, resolution, audio, videos, and also saying that it was licensed, it's a Sega product licensed, yay. We have here Tectoy, and the place that it was made. This was made in Manaus, one of the state capital of Amazonas, one of the states in Brazil. Pretty neat stuff. But you probably already know this is not uncommon console. But the next one is very interesting. This is the Master System 3 collection, my first console. When the Dreamcast died, Tectoy decided to just re-release the Master System with as many games as they could that they had a license at the time, in 2002. And that was how this console was born. It's just a Master System 3, it's still a real hardware, it's an emulation, but with a bunch of games here. They said it is 74, but that's not true. There's not 74 games, I will explain that later. But everything else is exactly what you expect. Different colors, of course, Tectoy logo, Sega logo, the pause button, switch, for switching to on and off. Once again, the controllers here. And of course you have the video output, this time AV, yay, quality. Once again, I have here in the back the thing that was licensed by Sega, and Tectoy, once again, thing that was made in Manaus. Cool stuff. I really like this console. Tectoy also made multiple versions of the Master System collection over the years, because they started losing the licenses for the games, so they started removing classic games. And the only difference between the models, visually speaking, is the colors. But at one point in 2006, Tectoy decided to switch to emulation, and they did not change the visuals of the console. It's still the same thing, only with different colors. And you cannot open this. It is sealed because there's nothing here in the emulation version. There's no cartridge slot, just emulator, just plug and play. And I have one of them here, and one of the more later models. It's very cool. This is the Master System 3 Evolution from 2008. As you can see, there's no cartridge slot anymore, because this is just emulation, just a plug and play. I love the design, but this is a horrible product. The emulation in this thing is horrible. It's really bad. The sound is awful, but it looks cool. I have here Sonic with the design from Sonic Rush, I think where this artwork came from. Tectoy logo, it's my system over here. There's nothing else in the back, pretty much. It's just, once again, Tectoy logo, and you have the video output here. Very interesting to notice that the majority of the classic games are gone from this thing, because at this point, 2008, Tectoy already had lost all the licenses. There's Sonic, Alex Kidd, and that's pretty much it. Everything else in this thing are original games made for this console, for this plug and play, and I don't think you can classify them as Master System games. They're just tic-tac-toe and very simple stuff. And there's also Sonic 352 for some reason, a Game Gear game. Probably because Tectoy realized they had the license, and since it's just emulation, they could just add here with no problem. It's very funny. There are better ways to play Sonic Drift 2. This is not good. But once again, this looks great in the shelf. It's a shame that's the only thing that's really worth to do with it, because god, the emulation of this is really bad. It's surprisingly bad, because it's just a Master System. And there's no pause button, because this is emulation, and they could put the pause button on the controller itself. And once again, they bundle with just a 6-button controller from the Mega Drive, because Tectoy realized the Mega Drive controllers work in the Master System, so they just stopped making Master System controllers. And I'm okay with that. The Master System controller is not the best thing in the world. The Mega Drive one is better. I really like this thing, visually speaking, but such a bad video game. Oh, camera please, don't focus. Look at Sonic. Great stuff. No, it's not great, it's really bad. Now, it's time for us to dive into the Sega Master System 3 collection. I'm going to talk about every game here, giving my opinion about them. Like I said before, While the console says it has 74 games, it actually doesn't. One of the games here is a mini-game collection, with 20 mini-games. Tectoy decided to count each one of them individually, so I'm going to review them individually as well. This mini-game collection is called 21, the name means 21. It was created by Tectoy in 1995, and let's just say for now that it's not one of their best works. Before looking at the games, I think we should look at the menu of the console. I know it's a simple menu, but it plays a song, a 8-bit version of Sonic 2 Versus Mode, which is a remix of Green Hill. Cool stuff! I just wonder if Tectoy got the rights for this music, because Sega does not own Sonic 1 or Sonic 2 soundtracks. The composer, Masato Nakamura, does. To be fair, a lot of people at Sega didn't know either, and this almost caused Sega some trouble during the development of Sonic Spinball, because they were going to use some songs for Sonic 1. There is also a chance that Tectoy still doesn't know about this because the Sega Master System Evolution still use this song. Or they got the rights, who knows? Anyway, now it's time to talk about the games. I will be talking about the games in alphabetical order for the majority of the time. Quick reminder that this is not a collection of the best Master System games or anything like that. This is just a bunch of games that in 2002 Tectoy still was holding the license for. Here we have stuff from all over the console's life cycle, including some Japanese exclusive stuff. The Master System had some games that came out in cards. These games were super simple and can be finished in half an hour. We have some of them here as well. And just like the NES started with the black box games, famous for being more simple than later games in the console's life, the Master System had the ugly box arts. It's pretty much the same thing. We are going to see some of them here as well. So let's start already with Action Fighter. That's a very generic name, and for my surprise, it's a top-down racing game. At least, it starts as one. In Action Fighter, the main character receives a mission from the president, and the game starts with you controlling a motorcycle, shooting at any vehicle that you see, including ambulances. And sometimes a truck with the Sega logo shows up, and if you get inside of it, you get a power-up for your weapon. After collecting some letters, the motorcycle transforms into a car, which is odd enough, but after collecting more letters, it transforms again, this time in a jet, and suddenly, the gameplay changes, and now it's a shoot 'em up. The first of many in this collection. That's at the core of Action Fighter. You switch between two gameplay styles during the levels. The game also has a timer. While you still have time, you can make as many mistakes as you want, but when it's over, you have 3 chances to finish the level. I don't think I need to say this game is hard. It's a mid-80s shoot 'em up after all. The main problem I have with this game is that you cannot upgrade your weapon during the jet sections, and that's gets frustrating very quickly, but Action Fighter can be fun for an afternoon. The next game is Alex Kidd in Miracle World. Actually, the next game should be Alex Kidd in High Tech World, but there is 3 Alex Kidd games here, so I decided to play them in chronological order. Miracle World is probably the game that comes to your mind when you think about the Master System, and it has a good reason for it. Not only Miracle World starts Alex Kidd's short career as Sega mascot, but it's also a great game. For the start, it actually has a story that develops throughout the game, including moments where you can get a game over if you don't do what the game is asking. The gameplay is very simple. Alex can jump and punch, but the game gets more interesting thanks to the items you can buy in the store or find around the levels. The game is also very difficult, since you die in one hit, but at least it has continues if you have a lot of money during the game over screen. Even though I enjoyed the game, Alex Kidd in Miracle World definitely shows its age. The physics are weird, but that's something that you can get used to. The biggest flaw of the game is the rock and paper scissors boss fights. It doesn't make any sense and it's not good. You can look up online what each boss is going to do. This only shows how bad the idea of having a rock paper scissors fights are. The game got a remake recently, and despite the great visuals, nothing else changed. It definitely needs some quality of life improvements. Alex Kidd in Miracle World is a game that I still recommend, and I hope that the remake will bring back him to the spotlight so you can see his gameplay in a modern style. After his first game, Alex Kidd was in a weird spot, having many side games of questionable quality, and the next game is one of them. Alex Kidd in High Tech World, a game that in fact is not an Alex Kidd game. Similar to Mario 2, High Tech World was a game from another IP that changed during localization. High Tech World is not even a platformer, it's a text adventure game where Prince Alex wants to visit the new arcade, but the map shared in many pieces and he needs to find all the pieces across his house. This is not a fun game, it's pretty much just try and error, and you can get game over just by interacting with the environment. It's so boring. Later on the game, it has a little bit of action, but it's not good either. From the Alex Kidd game, this is my least favorite. By the way, High Tech World is the name of the arcade Alex wanted to go. There's nothing high tech in this game. My biggest question is why this game here in this collection. This is a Master System made for young Brazilian kids when they ask the parents for a video game, but they don't want to buy something expensive. That's how I got mine. Why would they put a text-based game in English here? This doesn't make any sense. I guess I should go to the next game already. Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. Yes, a crossover. All good mascots must have one. This time, Alex's girlfriend got kidnapped and it's up to the prince to rescue her, and this time around, he has help. A spirit grants Alex with ninja powers. And I guess this includes having a health bar for the first time ever. And last, because the franchise died after this one. Alex can also wall jump and even be a fireball and many other stuff. Shinobi World is a great short game having only 4 areas, but they are very well designed. As I said before, this was Alex Kidd's last game, at least until the new remake of Miracle World. And it was a good ending for the short-lived mascot. It even gave him an opportunity to fight a clone of Mario. And a roaster? I think that's supposed to be a lobster. Alex Kidd in Miracle World is an enjoyable experience from the start to the end. If you haven't checked it out, I fully recommend to get it a chance. The next game is Alien Storm, a beating up with some shooting sections released not only for the Master System, but for the Mega Drive and the arcade as well. With that said, it's not surprised that the Master System version is the inferior one, but that doesn't mean it's not fun. Alien Storm is really good. If you really like games like Golden Axe, you should definitely check it out. On the Mega Drive, of course. The Master System version doesn't have multiplayer, only have 2 of the 3 playable characters, but everything else is here, including the speed sections. I was surprised that they weren't removed. And it's good to see them in it a bit. Aztec Adventures. It was a good surprise. I don't remember playing this one when I was a kid. It's a shame because it's really good. Aztec Adventure is a top-down action game, like Zelda, but it's level-based instead of having dungeons and hub worlds. It reminds me a lot of Zelda Force World Adventures. Anyway, in this game you will be exploring but not alone. There are 3 types of mercenaries that you can pay to join you. You have to literally throw money at them. And you can miss. They will replicate your movements and the CPU will attack enemies automatically. The mercenaries also has limited items. If you have one, they will use the same item as you. This including throwing money at other mercenaries. And in this game, money is everything. You even have to throw money at the fairy fountains to be healed, because no one works for free. Aztec Adventure is a great hidden gem that I love and recommend. It also has some great songs, and it teaches you that the true adventure is the mercenaries we paid to invade native lands. Bank Panic, a simple shooting game. You are the sheriff and you have to shoot the robbers when they shows up at the doors. And be careful to not shoot an innocent person. I'm glad you have a short game because you have a lot to go. Black Belt, a game that Yuji Naka, one of the creators of Sonic, worked on it. And in the original Japanese version is a Fist of North Star game that was changed because of licenses. The game itself is a mix between beating up and a fighting game. During the levels, it is a beating up and you can punch and kick by pressing the face buttons and up to jump. There is also a high jump by pressing down and up at the same time. During the levels, the game is simple, the enemies die in one hit and has a mini boss from time to time, and in my opinion, boring, especially early on. The bosses, on the other hand, works just like a fighting game, but the gameplay is the same as before. The boss will have a pattern and you have to understand to win. Classic stuff. For me, Black Belt is just a product of the time, but nothing I would replay just for fun. Ha ha ha. It's time to play Bonanza Bros. I tried to imitate the laugh from the game, but it didn't work. This is another game that has both a Mega Drive and a Master System version, but surprisingly this time around I like the Master System version more. But first, let's talk about the game. In Bonanza Bros, you will control one of the 2 robbers named Robo and Mobo, or Mike and Spike in some versions. In the end of the game you have to rob as many things as possible, at least in the Japanese version. In the international version they are cops recovering evidence. This late story doesn't make any sense considering the gameplay. In the game, Robo and Mobo can do 2 things, jump and shoot. You have to explore the buildings, collect your treasures, and leave the place while avoiding the guards. One hit will cost you a life, and stealth is not always an option. Late in the game, the guards will need a lot of bullets to be knocked down. While the core of the gameplay is the same for both versions, some stuff changes. The Mega Drive version has multiplayer, more enemies, a map on screen all the time, and of course better visuals, while the Master System version there is no multiplayer and the map only shows up before each level. But at the end of the day, I think the Master System version plays better. The 16-bit game is so stiff, it takes a while to jump, it feels like there is less room to avoid the guards, and it only uses half of the screen, since it was made for multiplayers. In the 8-bit version, not only you can see more of the action, but it controls better, and rarely something will take you by surprise. I will think the music is better, which is odd since the Master System doesn't have a good sound chip. If you want to play Bonanza Bros, it's Sega's 8-bit machine you should look for. Choplifter. I think it's the oldest game in this collection. Choplifter was originally released in 1982 and it was ported for everything at the time. The game itself is simple. You have to control a helicopter and you must rescue the people that were imprisoned. Bring 40 of them to the base to finish a level, but there will be a lot of people trying to stop you. The player can shoot, and when the helicopter is facing the player, it can drop bombs in the foreground. The game is fun but also really hard, which is not a surprise. These are early 8 games after all. If you want a version of Choplifter to play, this is not bad, but there are definitely better in the market nowadays. After Choplifter, we have Columns, Sega's puzzle franchise before Puyo Puyo. There isn't much I can say about it. Columns out there in every console imaginable. This is an okay port, but there is definitely better versions out there. Next. Cyborg Hunter. Before I start, I need to explain something. The version of the game in my console is in Portuguese. Like I said, Tectoy translated many games, but Cyborg Hunter is not one of them. I researched it and I found nothing about the official translations, because this isn't official translation. Tectoy uses a fan translated made in 2000. Quick reminder, this is a model from 2002. This game is also not available in any of the models after this one. I hope the translation team got paid. I doubt it, but I hope so. Enough of Tectoy stuff, because the game itself is great. It's a Metroidvania, where you need to explore an area, get the items, to be able to proceed. The game loop reminds me of Metroid Fusion and how the Metroidvania is divided in sections, but Cyborg Hunter is way shorter and can be beaten in about an hour. In this game, cyborgs took over the universe, and you play as a paladin that managed to get inside Cyborg's fortress and must destroy their leader. One of the coolest things about the game is how it has a first-person view on the top of the screen. It can be used as a radar for enemies, and is useful since there are a lot of moments that sections will be completely dark, giving the game a little bit of horror. There is a map available on the top of the screen as well, which means the action is only half of the screen. I guess the game designer noticed that this would be a problem, so the game itself is just a bunch of highways with enemies. Cyborg is so short that exploration enemies is fine enough, but I would definitely like a little bit of platforming. Similarly to Metroid 2, you must destroy the mini-bosses in each area to proceed. They show up in the radar as a white figure, and they also make an annoying beep sound when they are nearby. And of course, there is the items that you need to collect. To choose an item, you need to open the menu, and to open a menu, you need to press any button in the second controller. Quick reminder that the Master System controller only has the D-pad and 2 buttons, no start or select. The pause is in the console itself, even if you have a Mega Drive controller like I do. The start button and all the extra buttons do nothing. Alex Kidd in Miracle World also has a menu with items, and you have just to press the pause button in the console itself. But here you need to use a second controller, which is really odd. Pause the game does nothing, just pause, it does not open the menu. The first time I played, I was so confused because I didn't have a second controller plugged in and I didn't know how to open the menu. The idea of using an entire controller as a giant select button is weird and definitely unnecessary, but the game itself is pretty good. We saw a lot of cool stuff, so I guess now it's time to talk about 20 em 1. 20 em 1 is a minigame collection made by Tectoy in 1995. The name means 21. All the games are very short and use the same music. The pause button puts you back to the main menu. There is a single minigame here that uses both buttons. They could have made the pause button just a pause button and used the second button to go back to the menu. Let's start by talking about the first 5 games. Game 1. Collect some tools that are falling from the sky. It's easy, it's boring, and short. It's bad. Game 2. Eat the food, avoid the bombs until the times run out. It's easy, boring, and short. It's bad. Game 3. The character is skateboarding on a street. You have to avoid obstacles. The character is in the middle of the screen, the object moves slower than the street. It's easy, it's boring, it's short, it's bad. Game 4. Ultra basic platforming. I don't know what the player character is. It's easy, it's boring, it's short, it's bad. Game 5. You are rat. It's the cheese falling from the sides. It's almost the same thing from game 1, but now you can jump. It's easy, it's boring, and short, it's bad. Da Nun, the jungle fighter. First, this name doesn't sound like a real thing. It sounds like a fake video game name from a TV show or something. But the game itself is great, short and weird. Here we control Da Nun, a hero that must stop an evil group that's trying to revive an evil god. For a short game that can be beaten in under an hour, it's surprising that it has a lot of story. Da Nun himself can jump and attack using a knife, which thankfully has a hitbox longer than it looks. By collecting items, it's also possible to summon 3 types of animals to help you. An armadillo that attacks enemies, an eagle that helps with platforming, and a monkey that heals you. Da Nun can also increase his health by leveling up. Yeah, this game has RPG elements. There are also upgrades for the knife, hidden in the levels as well. And to my surprise, the levels themselves are quite open, have a lot of alternative paths. Another jungle fighter is really good, and if you have nothing to do for an hour, I recommend checking out. The next game is Double Target. After playing for a while on my Master System, I decided to look more about the game online, and I found out that Tectoy put the Japanese version on the console. The international version is called Quartet. Why did they do that? Was the license for the Japanese version cheaper, or did they get confused with what they could do? Honestly, I'm not surprised that this happened since we saw a fan translation a few games ago. Double Target, or Quartet, plays similar to Mega Man. The main character jumps and shoots. The difference is the level structure. In this game you need to find bosses somewhere in the level. After beating him, he will drop a key. After getting the key, you need to find the exit somewhere in the level. There is also a star to be collected in each level, and it's necessary to be able to get to the final area. This gives Quartet a sense of exploration, even though the levels are quite small. Actually, the whole game is small, it can be beaten in half an hour, if you already know the level of course. The game only has one major power-up, is the jetpack. With it, you can fly as long as you don't get hit. Get hit once, and the character will drop the jetpack and the key, if you already have one of course. But you can recollect both. The difference is that the key will fall on the ground, while the jetpack will be stay in the air. Similarly to Action Fighter, the timer is also your health. Getting hit costs you time, and after it ended, the next hit will cost you a life. The one thing I didn't like about the game is how fast the enemies respawn. It takes 3 seconds for them to reappear. It's so annoying, especially when there are a lot of going on the screen at once. Can get unfair very easily. For this review, I ended up finishing both the Japanese version that came with my console and the international version. The main difference is that the main character has a different design in the original version. The only gameplay difference I found was a platform in the first level. Now, it comes the question, why is the name different? This is actually a port of an arcade game called Quartet. This is the name even in Japan. The main gimmick of the arcade version is how you can have 4 players at once. My System version only has multiplayer for 2 people, so it was decided to change the name in Japan, but everywhere else in the world, the arcade titles remains. I didn't play the arcade version, but from what I saw on YouTube, it seemed to be very different from the Master System one. In the end, I had fun. It was an enjoyable little title, and has great music. Dragon Crystal. This one is a roguelike RPG, and I have nothing to say about it. I'm not an RPG guy, and I have never played a roguelike before, and I think I shouldn't try to review this. Sorry, I don't want to be unfair, and I don't want to analyze something that I barely know, so I'm going to the next game. Dynamite Duke, another shooting game, originally an arcade game that got ported for both Master System and Mega Drive. The game is fine and is exactly what you would expect. The unique thing is that Duke can punch, and by holding the punch button a special attack will be performed. It's funny how bosses are melee fights. It's not what I would expect from a guy with a gun and a lot of ammo would try to finish a mission. Enduro Racer. It's a racing game that's kinda like a sequel to Hang-On, a game that it is part of this collection, but you're going to see way later. Here, your objective is to finish a race against time while avoiding cars, obstacles, and other motorcycles. Similar to its predecessor, it's also a part of an arcade game. The 2 versions are actually very different. While the Master System version has an isometric look, in the original arcade game, the point of view is behind the main character, just like Hang-On. In Enduro Racer, the number of cars and motorcycles you pass by will become currency that can be expanded between levels and can be used to upgrade or fix the motorcycle. I'm pretty sure the system is exclusive to the console version. The Japanese version has way more levels, so if you want to give this game a try, I recommend that version. In Brazil, however, this game was originally called Supercross, but it was just a change in the box art. Tectoy didn't touch the game at all. Here, in this collection, however, this game is in Portuguese. Yeah, another fan translation. Hope the team behind this got paid. Anyway, Enduro Racer is a great game that has a super cool message for the players, and in the end, I recommend checking it out. eSWAT, City Under Siege. This game came out originally for the arcades and later got ported for the Master System. There is also a version for the Mega Drive, but that one is actually a completely different game made specifically for the console. In eSWAT, you play as a cop that after a successful mission gets promoted to, well, eSWAT. This means he gets a nice armor after the first level. Just like in Black Belt, enemies will come from both sides, left and right, and you have to get to the end of the level. The difference is that now you have a gun. Unlike the Mega Drive version, here you have limited ammo. After the first level, the armor will be added up to the mix. Taking a lot of damage will reverse the character to the regular cop. While as eSWAT, you get a bigger health bar and you can also hold the attack button to rapid fire, and yeah, that's it. The armor doesn't do much beside that. The game is fine, but nothing spectacular. If you like a nice arcade side-scroller, this one will be fun for you. Fantasy Zone. This game is a classic and one of the most famous games here. Fantasy Zone is a Sega arcade game that was ported to everything at the time, including the NES. The Master System version is probably the most popular of the home console ports, and for a good reason. It's a really solid version of the game. Fantasy Zone is a shooting up where you control a little spaceship that is alive, named Opa Opa. In fact, almost everything in this game is alive. Unlike the majority of games in this genre, it's not an auto-scroll. You can control the directions Opa Opa goes, left or right, and stages wrap around. So it's just like an arena. To finish your stage, you must destroy all the enemies in the generator. After doing this, it's time to fight the boss of the area. The game also has a shop system. There's a lot of games here with this mechanic. Was a Sega thing at the time? Anyway, after killing an enemy, it will drop a coin that can be used in the shop. The shop itself will show up from time to time, and there you can buy equipment to make Opa Opa faster, new guns, bombs, and extra lives. Some of them are temporary, others will stay until you lose a life. Every time you buy something, it gets more and more expensive. The game is super fun, but as you expected, it's super hard. Despite the cute look, it's a shooting up after all. The Master System version is a solid port, but definitely not the best way to play the game nowadays. This version lacks the counter of enemy generators, as you expect it's not visually on par with the arcade version, but still really good. Some bosses are very different as well. Fantasy Zone is a very nice game that, despite its difficulty, remains as one of the Sega's most memorable classics and a great addition to the Sega Master System's library. Fantasy Zone The Maze. This game is also known as Fantasy Zone 3 on the internet, and for some reason, this unofficial name was used in the menu of this model. Apparently, Tectoy goes back and forward with using this name on their Master Systems. Fantasy Zone The Maze is actually a Pac-Man clone. That's a surprise. Here the dots are actually money. You can buy upgrades by touching them when they appear on the maze. The upgrades can be stuff like weapons, invincibility, big wings that makes Opa Opa faster, and etc. Instead of ghosts, we have the enemy generators. There is also a circle that, when it becomes red, will power up the generators and they will create more enemies. This can be avoided by touching the circle. The game is fun, it's a very good Pac-Man clone that gives a good spin to the formula, and it has a lot of mazes. If you like Pac-Man, you probably like this one as well. We saw a lot of games, so I guess it's time to go back to 21. Let's see more 5 games. Game 6. It's a slow version of Game 1, and sometimes a shark shows up from the sizes. It's easy, boring, and short, and it's bad and lazy. Game 7. Oh god, this one looks like it came out for ColecoVision or something. Your objective is to move the motorcycle, I guess, to the end. It's easy, boring, and short. It's bad and ugly. Game 8. It's like the previous one, but controls better. There are cards attacking me. I don't know what's going on. It's boring and short. It's bad and confusing. Game 9. The same one as Game 3, but now with a boat. It's easy and boring and short. It's bad and recycled. Game 10. It's a top-down game. You play as a helicopter and you have to shoot the other helicopter as many times as you can. It's easy, boring, and short. It's bad. Ghost House. This is a name that I remember seeing a lot on the internet for many reasons. One of them is because this game came out in both card and cartridge, and the box art of the cart version is just someone holding the game. The other reason is because in 1993, Tectoy changed this game in Brazil. They added the sprites and called it Chapulin vs Dracula. By the way, the original version of Ghost House was already released in Brazil in the 80s. But what about the game? I didn't like it. In Ghost House, you control a vampire hunter and must kill 5 vampires hidden in the mansion. The main character controls similar to Alex Kidd. You can jump and punch, if the punch looks like Alex. Makes sense, both games were made by Sega and came out in the same year. They even share the same rear button layout, where the jump and the attack buttons are reversed from the standard. The vampires are inside coffins. To open one, you need to find a key first. A key will drop from an enemy randomly. By the time you find a coffin, you probably already have one. After defeating all the vampires, an exit will show up somewhere in the level. The mansion is full of traps, like floors with no collision and spider webs that will get the main character stuck, but some of them can be very useful. Passing by a fireplace will trigger a trap, and an arrow will show up from one of the edges of the screen. Jump on top of them and you will get points. Doing that multiple times and you eventually get invisibility. Touching a candelabra will make a sword appear. Jump on the sword and now you can grab it. The sword does more damage than the punch, but will last just for a few hits. From what I said, Ghost House sounds like a great idea, but unfortunately it has a lot of jank that might be expected from something that was made in 1986. The character barely has any invisibility frames. If you get knocked back and end up on the top of a ladder, the character will fall down, which is a problem because Ghost House has fall damage. The worst part is the vampires. They start flying as a bat and can fly at any moment. You can attack them, but you probably get hit in the process. The vampires will become humans for a short time, and it's the best moment to hit them, but they can decide to transform into human on a different floor than you are, wasting your time. The vampires fights are the main objective of the game and the worst part of it as well. Ghost House is a perfect game to have a sequel, just like many janky games from that time. It had great ideas but bad execution. Global Defensor. This is another shooting up that was originally made for the arcades. There you can control the ship and aim in a different direction at the same time. How does this work in the Sega Master System? Well, it doesn't. On the console version, the D-pad only moves the crosshair. To move the ship, you need to hold 1 and then move the D-pad. I have no idea how someone is supposed to finish this game with these controls. But there's a solution! Yeah, this game also has a 2 controllers option. To active, you need to hold 1 and left on the second controller at the title screen. This way, the game becomes way more playable. A D-pad for the ship and the other D-pad for the crosshair. And the ship shoots automatically. This is crazy. Quick reminder that in this collection, there is no instruction manual. I'm glad that when I was a kid, I only played Sonic and Alex Kidd. Okay, about the game itself, you have to defend the planet. Each stage is divided in 2 parts. An offensive mode and a defensive mode. Through the offensive mode, the game is out-scroll, and you cannot let anything pass by the left corner. During the defense mode, you must protect the planet from the missiles. Quite a simple game, but with a really odd control scheme. If you liked what you saw, I recommend looking for the arcade version. Next, we have the sport games. Great Baseball, Great Basketball, Great Soccer, and Great Volleyball. There is also World Soccer and Super Tennis. Both games were called Great Soccer and Great Tennis in some parts of the world. They were later in the list, but I decided to talk about sport games at once. How is the Great series? It's okay. They are sports games for a 8-bit console. They play as well as you expect. Starting with Great Baseball. I have nothing to say about it. I have no clue of how to play baseball and I have no idea what's going on in this game. It looks alright, I guess. I'm Brazilian, what do you expect? Great Basketball and Great Volleyball. They are good, and to my surprise, when selecting a country, it plays the national anthem. In case of Great Volleyball, it plays the whole thing, at least for Brazil. Great Soccer and Super Tennis are the most simple of them. The visuals are bland, as well as the gameplay. They were released as cards, so I guess that makes sense. Instead of re-releasing Great Soccer in card form, just like they did with Ghost House, Sega made a new game called World Soccer. Actually, the original Great Soccer never came out in North America. so they just call it World Soccer Great Soccer in the region. World Soccer is on par with the other games of the Great Series, with national anthem and everything. Now it's time to play Hang On, another part of arcade classic. In this game, you have to reach the checkpoint before the time runs out, while avoiding obstacles like other bicycles until you get the game over. The game is fun, but short. It's a nice arcade experience, but maybe too short for a console game. I guess that's why it came in card form, and the card version is bundled with another game. Visually, it's okay, but it doesn't have music. Honestly, I like when ports or remakes are completely different games from the arcade version, just like Enduro Racer, because nowadays there is no point of playing this sport. Kung Fu Kid, another side-scroller beating up, where the enemies spawn from left and right, just like Black Belt. Again, but I like this one more. You have a jump button and an attack button. There are many reasons to fight enemies here. After killing some, they will drop projectiles, and that's it. It's easier to just jump over them, so you can have more health for the bosses. The bosses themselves are fun, and the best part of the game, honestly. They can be challenging, but in a good way. Similarly to Black Belt, Kung Fu Kid is fun, but gets repetitive really soon. Machine Gun Joe. Hey, another shooting game. This one is short and simple. You can jump and shoot, beat the boss to beat the level. Shooting a pig will give you a screen look. There isn't much to say here. To my surprise, when booting the game, it showed the Sega Mark III logo. This game is Japanese exclusive. Or at least, it was until this collection. Thanks for so many oddities, Tectoy. At one time, the boss of the second level became a Japanese student girl. Was that supposed to be an Easter egg? I'm not sure. It happened only once. Master of Combat. This is a fighting game, and a good one. Definitely one of the most unique games on the list. Master of Combat plays like you would expect, but since there are only two buttons, one is jump and dash, and the other is attack. To choose a different movement, it's necessary to press the direction plus the attack button. The game even has classic special attacks, with button combinations that I have no idea how to do. The rest of the game is small. I'm not even sure if the AI is playing fair, it's probably not, and I'm not good in fighting games. But I have a lot of fun. This is one game that I actually recommend. It's once again time to talk about Finch-Yun, this time starting with Game 11. Here, you play as a frog. Left and right makes him hop from lily pad to another, grabbing bugs to score. Touching the bugs with anything else that's not a tangle will decrease your score. It's easy, boring and short. It's bad and has a creepy sun in the background. Game 12. The worst attempt of a shooting up. It's easy, boring and short. It's bad. Game 13. It's another clone of Game 3. It's easy, boring and short. It's bad. Game 14. Another clone of Game 3. They didn't even change anything about the gameplay. It's easy, boring and short. It's bad and unbelievable. Game 15. It's a clone of Pong. Did you notice that every single human character here is just an edit of the same sprite? My Hero. Another side-scrolling beating up with enemy coming from left and right. How original! And I think this one is the worst of them. To be fair, I think this is the oldest one on the collection. Here you have to save your girlfriend. The game has only one level that repeats over and over again, and you die in one hit. It wasn't fun. Another game is short because it came out in card, but this is boring. Sorry My Hero, I didn't like you. The Ninja. It's a top-down shoot 'em up, but this time around you play as a ninja. You can throw projectiles, and by defeating enemies, you can get power up for your weapon and speed for the character. You can also become invincible for a few seconds by pressing both buttons at the same time. The game is fine for what it is. The ninja dies in one hit and the game is about memorizing the levels, not that different from any other game on the console. Outrun. Another Sega classic. It's a racing game where you race against time while listening to some cool music. The game itself is very similar to Hang On. The main difference is that Outrun, there are multiple pathways that you can take. The port is very good and faithful to the original, but it also means there is no reason to play this one compared to the arcade original, unless you really like the Master System sound chip. Parlor Games. It's a minigame collection with billiard, darts, and world bingo. The game is just that, and I guess it's fine. I don't have much to say about it. Don't do gambling, I guess. Penguin Land. Okay, that's a good one. Penguin Land is a puzzle platformer where you control a penguin lost in space, and you need to bring back the eggs to the spaceship. The game is super fun and challenging. The levels are vertical, starting from the top, and you need to bring the egg to the bottom. The only thing the penguin can do besides jump and moving the egg is breaking blocks. The enemies are polar bears, and the only way to kill them is by using blocks to crush them. The game also has a level editor that saves a level that you made. They're super cool and not something that you see every day in a Master System game. Getting stuck in a level is not a problem either. In the main menu, you can select a level that you want to play. There's a lot of content here for just a simple game, and it's a game that I definitely want to play more. Pitpot/Astro Warriors. This is a cartridge with 2 games, and Tectoy decided to put this on here instead of them separately. Starting with Astro Warrior. It's a great shooting up. It's one of the best on the collection. It's very simple, you can shoot and have fun while doing it. It's also very short but enjoyable, and the music is great. Pitpot is a puzzle game that's kinda like a Zelda 1 dungeon. You need to collect all treasures and then find the princess. The hero only has one weapon, a hammer. You can use it to hit enemies but also the floor. In every room are golden blocks at the edges and grey ones in the middle. If a grey block is not touching with blocks that connect with the edge of the room, it will be destroyed. Don't worry about destroying everything. Hammering a gold block will reset the room, and there are secrets that can be revealed by destroying all grey blocks. This game is fun but can be challenging. The secrets are well hidden, and there is no map, but I enjoy the game a lot. If you like puzzles and Zelda 1, you should check this out. Power Strike, a shoot 'em up made by Compile, the studio responsible for Puyo Puyo. And similarly to how their puzzle game became Dr. Robotnik Bim Bim Machine outside Japan, this game is also a reskin. Apparently the original version also has an extra level. Power Strike is probably the best shooting up in this collection. You have a shooting button and also a secondary weapon that has limited ammo that can be used with the another button. There are 8 different secondary weapons that can be collected in the game, and the main weapon can also be upgraded by collecting a lot of power-ups. The game is super fast and it has a lot of stuff on screen at once, definitely pushing the limits of the console. If you like shooting up and want to try at least one of them of this collection, you should definitely play this one. Pro Wrestling. Yeah, this is a game. I don't know anything about wrestling. That said, I also didn't like this game. The game is so slow and not fun. I honestly have nothing else to say. Pud and Pudder. It's a mini golf game. It's very good with a lot of interactive stuff, I think. I'm not a really big fan of golf, so I'm not sure exactly. But I really like it, and I recommend you to check it out if you like golf. Satellite 7. Another shooting up, this time from the early days of the console, 1985. It came out only in Japan, but once again we see this because Tectoy had licenses. It's fine, the other ones here were definitely better, there isn't much else to say. Secret Commando. In the box this game is called Secret Command, but in the game it says Secret Commando, and in the US version it's called Rambo. The game is a top-down shooter just like the Ninja, and it's fine. It's better than the previous one I played, but it's not my type of game. You can shoot bullets, but there are also some limited arrows that explode. The game is fine, but nothing more than that. So, it's time to talk about Vincenzo once again, but this time is the last one. Yay, finally! Game 16 is a clone of the Frog minigame, but now it's played as a bug spray? It's easy, boring and short, it's bad and recycled. Game 17. Remember the platformer minigame? It's that again, but now they are enemies, and you can shoot them. Sure. Game 18 is a clone of the Ugly minigame. I remember seeing something like this on old PCs. Game 19 is a clone of the minigame I didn't understand. Once again, it's boring and short, it's bad and recycled. And the last game is another Pong clone. What a great way to end this nightmare of a game. The only thing I can say about this is that I can't believe Tectoy actually sold this in stores. There are so many great indie games made by Brazilians. Vincenzo just make me very, very sad. Shinobi. One of the most famous Sega classic, and the Master System version is no different. It's great. Here you play as a ninja, save some kidnapped kids, and jump from elevation to another. There is also a special attack that cleans the screen, but it's not as useful in the console version. Another difference from the arcade is that in this port the player has a health bar. Not only that, but it also can be upgraded by rescuing some kidnapped kids. The kids can also give you weapon upgrades and chance to go to the bonus. The bonus stages are shooting gallery minigames and are really bad at them. Complete one will get you a special attack. The game is great and hard, but that's the way to expect it from an arcade port. The game is fun and the Master System version is definitely a good way to experience Shinobi. Sonic 1.
This was my first game I ever finished. I can't say this is my first game because all of the collection was. Find me barely playing anything else. I know a lot about this one. Did you know there is an extra life in every level? Well, in Sonic you can jump and also roll by pressing down. Roll is the way to get speed, and by using it with the terrain, it's possible to do some crazy stuff. This game does not use this game mechanic too much, but to be fair, it breaks everything very easily, so it's better to leave it for the Mega Drive. Collecting one ring grants you an extra hit, but you drop everything if you get hurt, and unlike the 16-bit version, you cannot grab them back. Finishing a level with 50 rings will take you to the special stage, where you can get more lives and continues. The 6 emeralds are hidden in the levels. I think this is a better way to do than putting them in special stages like the Mega Drive version, at least until Sonic 3. This game is pretty much a basic platformer. Momentum is not as important like in the 16-bit version. I don't think this is a bad thing since this is a weaker hardware, and when you go faster and break everything. The only thing I don't like is the fact that the game doesn't give you rings for the bosses, but they are very easy. Sonic 1 has also a Game Gear port, like many other games in its collection, but the difference is that this one I actually played it, especially since the Game Gear version is the one that Sega ported every single time. The main difference between the two versions is the resolution, as you expect it for the Game Gear, but also the level design. Skybase Act 1 is super different. The Bridge Zone boss and the final boss are also different. If you only have played the Game Gear version or just the Master System one, I recommend to play the other as well. They can work like New Game Plus for each other. Did I say I like this a lot? Because I do. And I think I should stop talking and go to the next game. Submarine Attack. Another shooting up, but this time it's underwater. From all shooting ups I played here, this one is probably the easiest. And I like that. Here you play a submarine that can shoot forwards, but also has a secondary attack that goes down in an arc. The game is fun, has great music, and just like the most famous Sega game about the ocean, it also ends with aliens for some reason. Why underwater aliens? Does Sega know something we don't know? Super Monaco GP, a racing game that's also arcade port, and it was also in the Mega Drive. The last part quite obvious because there are Mega Drive advertisements in the tracks. The game plays like you expect. There is a lot of customization, but I'm not 100% sure on what each option does. Super Monaco GP was definitely made with multiplayer in mind. The screen is cut half all the time, even in the single player. The bottom half is even played by the AI. The game is fine, but I wish it had music. I played it a lot when I was a kid and I remember enjoying it. Revisiting now, the game is just okay. There isn't anything else special to be said about it. Super Racing is a top-down racing game. Once again, I have nothing else to say besides, it's fine, nothing special. Also, I think this game only came out in Japan, once again, at least before this collection. World Grand Prix. Since I'm talking about racing games, I decided to put this one here. It was supposed to be the last game, but I wanted to end with Wonder Boy. Anyway, World Grand Prix plays very similar to Super Monaco GP. The difference is that this one is a time attack game. To finish a track, you need to beat the timer. After each track, you have the opportunity to use your score to upgrade your car, just like in Enduro Racer. The game is fun and it can be really fast, but I hate how the opponent's car moves randomly. It's annoying and unfair. I'm not even racing them! This game also has a level editor. That's cool. I wasn't expecting to see 2 games here with a level editor. Teddy Boy. This one was a launch title for the Sega Mark III, and it shows. The game is nothing special visually. Teddy Boy is a platformer where you shoot enemies that come from dices. The enemies will shrink and you have to collect them. Collect them all to finish a stage. This reminds me of the one power-up from Sonic Adventure 2 that transforms enemies into toys. Maybe it was based on this, I don't know. The levels are short, but it can be confusing because they wrap around, so sometimes they appear to have more enemies than it actually has. Alex Kidd in Miracle World also recycles some enemies from this game. Teddy Boy can be fun, but nowadays it's nothing special. Transbot. This game is called Astro Flash in Japan, and in Brazil is called Nuclear Creature for some reason. Transbot is a shoot 'em up that's only 2 levels long. It just repeats instantly. The unique thing about this game is that sometimes a truck will appear and shooting it will give you a choice to transform. Each transformation has a different weapon. The game is so short that I have nothing else to say. Vampire, or Master of Darkness. Okay, this game is called Master of Darkness, but here in its collection it's called Vampire. It's not just a thing in the menu. The title screen says Vampire. Where did this name came from? This game came out for the Master System only in Europe and Brazil. In both cases, this game is called Master of Darkness. Another Game Gear version is called Vampire: Masters of Darkness, but it's not that, it's just the Master System version with a different name. I didn't find an answer for this online. I found a ROM with this name, but nothing else. Where was this game called Vampire? Is this an early build? I don't know. I didn't even find a box or anything like that with this name. If you know, please tell me. Okay, now it's time to talk about the game itself. Masters of Darkness is a Castlevania clone, and it's great, one of the best of the collection. The game plays just like a classic Castlevania, where you can jump, attack, and also have a sub-weapon. You can upgrade your main weapon, or change the sub-weapon by attacking some masks in the air. Once again, just like candles in Castlevania. The game is not trying to copy the problems that Castlevania has, at least. You can control your jump in the air, and you can also jump off the stairs, for example. Masters of Darkness has great visuals and excellent music, and it's a game that I recommend a lot. If Adventure Island, an NES game that is a copy of a Master System game, can be considered a classic, why not the other way around? Speaking of Adventure Island, I think it's time to talk about the next title. Wonder Boy. If you had the NES or know nothing about the Master System, you probably think this is just a bootleg of Adventure Island, but the truth is the other way around. Adventure Island is a copy of Sega's Wonder Boy. The story is complicated, but I'll try to explain it. Wonder Boy is an arcade game developed by a studio called Westone, and was published by Sega. The game was ported for Sega platforms, including the Master System. Sega and Westone share the rights for the game, while Sega is the owner of the Wonder Boy trademark. This means that Westone could do anything they wanted with the game, they just need to change the title. So they gave the game to Hudson Soft to port for the NES, so that's how Adventure Island was born. Both Wonder Boy and Adventure Island had multiple sequels, but have nothing to do with each other. Hudson used the Wonder Boy engine to make sequels, while Westone transformed the Wonder Boy franchise in the Metroidvania. Hudson Soft also ported the Wonder Boy sequels to non-Sega consoles, like the NES and the TurboGrafx-16, but each game received a different name. So let's talk about the game. In Wonder Boy, you control Tom Tom, a young boy that must save his girlfriend from an evil wizard. You know, the classic video game stuff. Tom Tom can jump and attack. By holding the attack button while jumping, he will also jump higher. Tom Tom can get upgrades from eggs, like hammers that allows him to attack in the first place, and also a skateboard that gives you him extra protection, but he won't stop moving. The game has a time limit, represented by the vitality bar. Getting fruit will give you more time. Sometimes a rotten egg will show up. Breaking you will spawn a little death that will make the time deplete faster. One of the differences between Adventure Island and Wonder Boy is that in Adventure Island the rotten eggs look the same as a normal egg, unlike in Wonder Boy, but they are visually different. Adventure Island was based on the arcade version of Wonder Boy. The Master System version, however, is actually an update. The Master System version is almost visually identical to the arcade game, has infinite continues from the start, and has 2 new worlds, making the definitive version, at least not counting the 2016 remake. But I never played that one, so I cannot comment about it. Wonder Boy is one of the best games on the console, and a must play if you like classic platformers. The sequels are great too. Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap is one of my favorite games of all time, and it's also got a remake recently. Go play the Wonder Boy games, they are great. That was all. Now you know how I started liking video games. I must say, I had a lot of fun revisiting some of these titles. There were some that I completely forgot it was a thing until I tried again, and some I definitely know that I never tried it until now. After this weird product, Tectoy never stopped selling Master Systems, and from time to time they even sell poorly emulated Mega Drives. In 2009, Tectoy tried to make their own video game, called the Zeebo. The idea was to be an even cheaper Wii, and they wouldn't use physical media, everything would need to be downloaded. The idea was well received, and companies like Sega and Capcom were interested in the console, until it was revealed that the Zeebo used cell phone CPU. Quick reminder, that was in 2009, we're talking about flip phone CPUs. The Zeebo bombed, Tectoy almost bankrupted, but somehow the Zeebo got its own version of Resident Evil 4. After this massive failure, Tectoy started selling stuff like DVD players and tablets designed for young children, until recently at least, where they decided to do what they do best, resell products of other companies with their own giant logo on it. Brazil has a lot of talented people and great indie games. The thing I think is really missing from the current Brazil market is a big local studio, like how France has Ubisoft and Poland has CD Projekt Red. At one point in the 90s, Tectoy was the big video game company from Brazil. They had everything to become a game developer. Actually, they were a game developer. That's why this video exists. Sometimes I wonder if instead of making the Zeebo, they just had pitched a game for Sega to publish. what would be the Brazilian market? Would it have worked? I don't know, but I still think they could do something like this even today. Sega is giving the rights of their old franchise to everybody. We just got Alex Kidd remake, and since 2016 we got 4 Wonder Boy games. Each one of them was made by a different studio. If Tectoy partnered with one of the main Brazilian indie studios to pitch something like, I don't know, an Alex Kidd return to Miracle World, I'm pretty sure Sega would be okay with it. Or maybe I'm just dreaming of Brazil having a big video game company. Anyway, thanks for watching. I know my English is not the best, and I also know that not easy to understand me from time to time. So if you got to the end, I just want to say thank you. Seriously. And I hope I can do this again in the future.